Hello, kia ora, vanakkam, vandanam, namaste, namaskar. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to yet another episode of Trendy Thalaiva Selva with India Live, where colors come live on Wednesday, 6 p.m. It's been a week. I hope all of you are like doing well and आप सब मतलब अच्छे वेदर को और क्राइसिस में जो इवेंट्स हो रहे हैं फेस्टिवल हो रहे हैं वो सब सेलिब्रेट कर रहे होंगे एंड आई एम आल्सो होपिंग दैट ऑल ऑफ यू आर लाइक डूइंग well in terms of the health um, and you're all happy apparently लाइफ में सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात ये होती है कि हम सबको खुश रहना चाहिए किसी भी हालत में किसी भी स्थिति में पॉजिटिव रहना चाहिए एंड देन we always look forward to shaping up a better future and that's what like we always want to do, right? So I hope all of you are like in that phase. आज मैं एक अलग नया जगह से शो कर रहा हूँ. I keep traveling to meet people, catch up with friends. आप सभी लोग तो जानते ही हो कि मैं अभी मैं अभी नौकरी ढूंढ रहा हूँ, so which means that I need to network and I need to talk to more people and get my new job or like you know anything that's in store sorted. So मैं कहीं आया था और मुझे पता चला कि यहीं पे ही मेरे को शो करने का मिलेगा because it will take a long time for me to get back. I live in Rolleston, but I'm currently in the city. Um, there was like huge traffic as well, so I thought that I'll probably host the show from here. थोड़ा lighting उतना ठीक नहीं है, please excuse me for that. But from next time onwards, I'll make sure that like even if I get to show or do the show outside of my home, I'll make sure that the lighting is perfect. And also, as always, like we have a lot to discuss today. And again, this is my third technical show without any content preparation, so I'm just going to talk as in what I feel like talking. And हम एक नदी की तरफ like ऐसे ही बह बह के जाएंगे और पता चलेगा कि किस रास्ते को ले रहे हैं, कहाँ पे मोड़ आ रहा है और कहाँ पे पहुंचेंगे. um, we always start the show with an interesting Thirukural, and I'll share a Thirukural for this week. And we'll also talk about the meaning of the Kural, and we'll learn something new today. The Kural that I chose for this week was also something that has a connection to the Kural that we shared last week, and also has something in connection with what I am doing right now. So this Tirukkural is actually called as செவிக்கு உணவில் இல்லாத பொழுது சிறிது வயிற்றுக்கும் ஈயப்படும். Um, I'll repeat that again. செவிக்குணவில்லாத பொழுது சிறிது வயிற்றுக்கும் ஈயப்படும், which means that when you don't have enough food or like enough fodder for your ears, that's the time when you actually should be feeding yourself to fill your stomach. Um, I mean, if you literally translate that, that's what it means, but that's not what World War means to say, or like, you know, what the literal translation should be. It actually says that for every human being, the first sort of like, you know, feed that they should take is basically to their heads, that's the brain, which is also like learning. So every time you get to like read something or like listen to someone which actually is bringing you like new knowledge, you tend to like you know you want to spend more time there to understand what the new knowledge is bringing to you. What sort of like perspective are you getting out of that? um, उसमें से जो फ़ायदा है हमारे ज़िंदगी में मतलब हमेशा के लिए रहेगा. और शिक्षा की ज़रूरत के बारे में हम लास्ट वीक काफ़ी लेंथ में बात किए थे. दिस ऑल्सो इज़ लाइक वेरी प्रोडोमिनेंट इन टर्म्स ऑफ लाइक आप अपने आप को शिक्षित रखो, continue to hear more, and just don't think about stomach alone. Of course, like feeding yourself and you know making sure that you have that energy to you know keep doing what you do is also important. But the main purpose is to seek that knowledge, go around and look for knowledge wherever possible to keep yourself educated. And then when that is done, of course you will get fed otherwise as well. So sevi kunavillada பொழுது சிறிது வயிற்றுக்கும் ஏற்படும், one of my favorite kural. And as I said that, like, it's also pertinent and relevant to what I'm doing right now, because as I said that I'm in the process of like looking for a new job. I'm also trying to look around and upskill myself. uh, See, the market is like really really bad. आप लोग को पता ही होगा कि न्यूजीलैंड के हर बैंक ने इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ा दिए। जिन लोगों ने मतलब ज़मीन खरीदा था लास्ट ईयर और हाउसिंग लोन जो लिए थे, ये सोच के कि हमारी मॉर्गेज इतना पे करना होगा एक्सेट्रा, आर ऑल पेइंग मच मोर देन व्हाट दे वुड हैव एस्टिमेटेड, एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस इज लाइक जस्ट ड्यू टू द ग्लोबल रिसेशन। हम लोगों के ज़माने में I think there was like two great big recessions that happened. And one of the recessions, I was probably a child, or like, I was going to school, so it didn't impact me that much. And by the way, my father used to be a daily wage worker in a very small town called Ambasamudram, where he was actually making tea. He's a tea master, um, where his job was not impacted due to global recession because the economy is like not, trickling down to him. So probably I don't know the impact and what wreckage that caused. But then when I was in the workforce in 2008, there was a great recession that happened due to the bankruptcy of Goldman Sachs, and the other big banking organization in the US. That then had the ripple effect across the world, where like so many people lost jobs and the IT market just went down by a huge margin. um, so that recession also didn't have an impact on me. Why? Because at that time I was actually working in IIT Delhi, which is a government organization. So perhaps, like, if you're in a sarkari naukri in India, recessions won't like pretty much like impact you. But that's technically not the case in the other countries. But anyway, we'll come to that later. So that recession also didn't impact me much. But now we are in a phase where there is like a big global recession after COVID, particularly because like during COVID, the companies were hiring people like crazily, and there was like a lot of investment that came in. They had like a lot of money to burn, so they went ahead crazily and hired global remote roles and then, like, praying crazily, and then everybody was like thinking of buying houses. So क्या होता है कि आपके पास पैसा आता है तो आप सोचते हो कि उसको खर्चा करना है, राइट? लाइक किस तरह से खर्चा करेंगे, लोग पीपल इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, पीपल प्रॉपर्टी खरीदते हैं, तो पीपल स्टार्टेड टू इन्वेस्ट. एंड देन नाउ व्हेन वी केम आउट ऑफ कोविड, we then was like, presented with this great war between Russia and Ukraine, that again like put a big choke on the supply chain, particularly with oil and gas as well as the wheat industry. And then China controls almost like 75% of the global supply chain through ports. um, However, like, the great threat we were actually expecting was that China potentially could be waging a war, or like, trying to occupy Taiwan. And also the issue in Hong Kong was like a bit escalated at that point of time, if you remember, in 2019, 2018, if I'm not wrong. So when we were anticipating this as probably, could be one of the causes to trigger a global recession, but the cause was shifted to Russia and Ukraine, and then that is like now triggering ripple effects across the globe. A lot of companies in the US first started to lay off in the last year. I still remember last year in June, July, when I wanted to actually make a switch. I advise this to all of my team members. किसी भी तरह से नेक्स्ट 2 साल तक आप लोग अपने नौकरी बचा के रखो. अगर नौकरी बचा नहीं सकते तो नेक्स्ट 6 मंथ्स के लिए सेविंग्स बचा के रखो, ताकि you can actually have that cushion of not being in a job but still being able to sustain yourself and also like sustain your family. तो वो आना शुरू हुआ लास्ट ईयर अप्रैल में से लेके धीरे धीरे, Q2 Q3 had like minimal impact, but we saw like a huge impact on Q4 Q4 and Q1 of this year, early this year. I know a lot of my friends who are like really, really experienced. Those folks did not get job for like 9 straight months, 10 straight months. They have been like just doing some menial jobs for a year. Of course, freelancing helps at times to sustain yourself, to make sure that like you're not pushed towards like a financial burden, etc. But still, like you do have like that financial burden, right? So हम लोग ये बात कर रहे थे कि because of all of those things now, I think a couple of months ago, New Zealand RBI technically announced that the country is in recession, which means that people's spending power is going to go down. So they should not be technically spending money, and then the bank is also like continuously increasing the interests, and because of which जिन्होंने भी last year ये सोच के लोन ले रखा है कि मेरा mortgage इतना होगा, उन लोगों को mortgage बढ़ गया. But see, always like when there is a tunnel, there is always, they say that the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I tend to look at the end of the tunnel. And why I'm saying is that like I left my job in the peak of recession, and because of that, maybe like the roles I'm applying, I'm probably not getting an interview through, or like even if I get an interview through, there's like a lot of competitors. Just to give you like a rough estimation or a statistical information, like in the last year when I was actually looking for a job in the month of June, July, I applied, if I applied to 10 roles, I would pretty much like get a call back or an interview for 6 of those roles. मगर आज के तारीख में मैं अगर 20 रोल के लिए अप्लाई करता हूँ तो एक रोल का वापस कॉल आता है. It's not just because that my skill set has gone bad, right? Like I should be like having more skills compared to last year. मगर ये रीजन है कि आजकल ये जॉब मार्केट में जिन लोगों भी नौकरी ढूंढ रहे हैं उनका नंबर्स बढ़ गया. They have gone up. So last year, if at the same time, if 10 people were looking for jobs, this time now there are like 20 people looking for the same job. So there are more applicants, so there's more competition. So you have to like kind of like wither through that period to be able to like get a job. So the point why I am actually starting to talk about all of these things is because I'm trying to upskill myself, because like you only get to learn things at a time when you have that space in the mind. And with job, it's kind of like possible within the job if you're wanting to learn job specific skills or like upskill yourself on something that you do as a part of your role. मगर आप बाहर जाके खुद कुछ नया सीखने के लिए आपके पास उतना टाइम नहीं रहता है अगर जब आप नौकरी करते हो तो अभी आई थिंक इट्स अ गुड टाइम फॉर मी टू upskill. So I'm just starting to diversify and learn new things. And interestingly, Sathe, I was just bumping into this courses called ITIL. It's basically information technology infrastructure library that comes together and put certain certification courses for anyone who wants to get into incident and problem management sort of like role. I never knew that such role exists, and I always thought that even if those roles existed, it was a technical role where you need to have like technical skills, predominantly coding or like understanding the IT infrastructure like AWS or Azure, etc. पर अभी मेरे को पता चला even a non-tech person who is not having coding or like language or like computer background, by just going through these certifications, you can learn about service management, infrastructure management, and also have that sort of like opportunity and a career pathway into incident and problem management. कितना कूल है. मैं ये भी जानता हूँ कि ऐसा कुछ और भी कोर्सेस होंगे और भी चांसेस होंगे. तो अभी ये सब सीखने का मौका मिलेगा तो वो सब सीख सकते हैं. But yeah, last week was an interesting week in terms of like one event quickly, of course, like हर week तो जल्दी चले ही जाते हैं. And I think last Saturday, India Live where Colors Come Live participated in a celebration, which we all were sharing with you on October 28th. The Bharati Samaj charitable association from Queenstown came together to put the first ever sustainable Diwali festival. And India Live, where Colors Come Live, people were there. They met most of the people. They covered a lot of the events, and आप लोग अब हमारे Facebook or Instagram or other pages में you can get to see all the photos and the cool videos that we happen to take. And I also think this weekend there is a similar festival, a Diwali celebration function happening in Kargil, and I think India Live, where Colors Come Live, will also be there to show you how the festival was celebrated by our community people. So that we're trying to bring together like everyone across New Zealand, हमारे इंडियन कम्युनिटी को एक जगह पे और ये दिखाना चाहते हैं कि हम लोग इतने डिवर्सिफाइड लोग हैं और इतने एक साथ आके मतलब सेलिब्रेट करते हैं हमारे त्योहारों को. And we wanted to strengthen the kind of like the support that the community can get from each other, which is so cool. um, or Last Saturday was a Saturday slash Sunday. No, yeah, Saturday slash Sunday was kind of like an unfortunate day for New Zealand sports, I would say. पहले तो ये था कि रग्बी का वर्ल्ड कप finals में South Africa and New Zealand played against each other. Such an interesting game, a close game. और हम लोग एक point से हारे. By the half time, like we were like far behind. Like I think the score was like 6-12. But then the second half, New Zealand played really well, and then we improved our opportunities and chances, and we actually scored. And the defense was also so good that South Africa couldn't score more. And we came like really close and lost by 1 point. And I think someone failed to convert a try, so that we lost that opportunity to score that extra point, which costed the match. These scenarios like to trigger back my memories to this movie Chak De India, where in the opening scene, like there is a artificial or like an imaginary India Pakistan match, where Kabir Khan wanted to take the penalty, and he goes for the strike and he fails to score, and India loses the match, and people sort of like name him as Gadar, not Gadar, Gaddar, and he's expelled from his home. Um, and then he comes back and then delivers a World Cup for India. And somewhere in the movie there is a scene which says where like this person who played along with Kabir Khan says that एक गलती सबको माफ होती है पर Kabir says that सबको नहीं. I kind of like have experienced this like many places where there are some people who can commit more mistakes, but that's allowed, but there are some people who can't commit mistakes, and not even one. I don't know how to overcome that, but it then triggers me that like all of this makes me stronger, like very similar to what made Kabir Khan stronger, right? So yeah, so sport wise, black day, kind of like black day for New Zealand sports. We lost the rugby, and then followed by that we also lost the cricket match to India. एक तरफ खुशी हो रही है कि इंडिया जीत गई है, और दूसरी तरफ ये भी आप दुखी हो रही है कि न्यूजीलैंड ने अच्छे चेस किया, and they came very close to the match. um, I'm not talking about India New Zealand match. Sorry, I should be talking about Australia New Zealand match. My apologies, folks. It was Australia and New Zealand. So Australia batted first, and then they actually did a rampage. Kind of like the opener scored big, like 175 runs, and then by the end, New Zealand did come back very well to restrict them to only score to 388. And then the chase was like fantastic. This guy, the Rachin Ravindra, he played a really great innings of calculating the chase and then taking the team almost as close as possible to the victory. But then apparently we fell short of like 5 runs, and then we lost the match. Um, so yeah, it would be interesting to see the propositions of who is going to make it to the semi-finals. And my guess, I mean, this is just my guess, huh? Could potentially be India, New Zealand, South Africa, and Australia. Uh, but you can never write Pakistan off, right? And there is also Afghanistan, who's like playing really well. They've won 3 matches, and potentially if they win 2 more, and the other teams losing a couple of more matches could also put them in the probability pool. So you never know. So it's going to be an interesting encounters. Coming up in the next few days, which we are all like gearing up to. And then we are also preparing ourselves to celebrate Diwali on the 12th of November. तो मुझे पता नहीं आप लोगों का क्या प्लान है, पर मैं तो ये करूँगा कि अच्छा खासा नया कपड़े पहनूंगा, और आजकल मिठाई नहीं खा सकता मैं. आई एम काइंड ऑफ लाइक restricting myself from eating sweets, because probably in the border of like closer to getting like diabetic. Um, but yeah, avoiding all sort of like sugars. एक ज़माने में मैं बहुत खाता था, राइट. मैं सुबह 4 बजे उठ के मिठाई खा सकता था, और ब्रेकफास्ट पे मिठाई खाता था, लंच पे मिठाई खाता था, और डिनर पे भी मिठाई खाता था. किसी ज़माने में हम लोग whenever there is a birthday, like I am the person who always comes forward and say that I'm going to get the birthday cake for that week, or for that person. So I get the birthday cake, and at that times like we used to get cakes crazily. दिल्ली में डिफेंस कॉलोनी में एक बेकरी था, डिफेंस बेकरी, एंड दे यूज्ड टू मेक लाइक कस्टमाइज्ड केक्स, लाइक उस जमाने में, लाइक इन द अर्ली 2000s, customized cake were not a big thing. Either you used to go to a bakery and you get like that, you know, ready-made birthday cakes, or like you order them and they make like vanilla sponge. They also like made fruit cakes, strawberry, chocolate. These are the things. But I used to go there, and then we used to make like different layers, like एक layer butterscotch होता था, एक layer chocolate होता था, etc., etc. So I used to organize all these birthday cakes, and in that time, like we used to celebrate like every week for some random reason. Like किसी का ताऊजी का बर्थडे है तो केक काटते हैं, सचिन ने 100 मारा तो केक काटते हैं, इंडिया जीत गई केक काटते हैं, एक्सेट्रा. तो उस समय पे आई यूज्ड टू ईट लाइक a kilogram of cake just all by myself. And at that time, like Amul also made some amazing ice cream. No, I think not Amul, it's Mother Dairy. Yeah, Mother Dairy made some amazing ice cream. Zafrani Kesa Pista, Shahi Meva Malai types of ice cream. So I used to buy like that 1 liter bucket and eat all the ice cream by myself. Um, Maybe I did all of those things at that time. It's now coming back and biting me and saying that शुगर कंट्रोल करो बेटा. तो उसकी वजह से मिठाई उतना ज़्यादा नहीं खा सकता हूँ, पर आई विल डेफिनेटली बी कैचिंग अप विद सम ऑफ माई फ्रेंड्स, गोइंग आउट, एंड आई एम ऑल्सो एंटिसिपेटिंग सम ऑफ द दिवाली रिलीज मूवीज टू. I'm pretty sure that there are going to be like a lot of great Bollywood movies, Tamil movies, and Telugu movies that are going to come and in store. So I am looking forward to Diwali movies this year. आप लोग क्या मूवी देखेंगे, थोड़ा आप लोग भी हम लोग से बता सकते हैं. जस्ट कमेंट and share with us and let me know how you're liking the show as well. Like as I always, I'm someone who invites feedback, and I'm just going to take your questions and also like try to answer them in my next few sessions that I will be doing with the show Trendy Thalaiva Selva with all of you. But other than that, the weather has been great, this week, and I'm pretty sure that as we slowly going to get into the summers, it's just going to get better and better. And we are also like kind of like waiting for the final election results to clearly know who's going to form the government and what sort of like policies are going to come. And as we like get there, abhi ye bhi, I mean, I'm realizing कि there are some policies that are actually being built to help businesses, those are under the risks of redundancy or liquidation, to be able to support their staff members and stuff. So आप लोगों को उसके बारे में अगर कुछ पता है तो हमें बताइए, and I'm also trying to gather some information on that so that I can share that information to all of you through the show, so that some of you, in case if you know someone, or like in case if you need that benefit for yourself, you can actually apply for those hardship funds, and if things go well, you will receive that hardship funds as well, so that you can sustain yourselves and also your business. um, there are always something that I've been like encouraging my people to do, like with whoever I work. um, Prepare for the worst case scenario. um, See, at the end of the day क्या हो सकता है, like with the recession and stuff, right? Maybe next 1 or 2 years के लिए economy down होगा, interest rates बढ़ेंगे, खर्चा ज़्यादा होगा, और the worst case like job जा सकता है, right? So um, you start to save a little, like हम लोग maybe next episode में savings के बारे में थोड़ा बात करते हैं, because savings, investments, finances are the most sort of like the most taboo topic that we have. You can actually not see, like one of the most taboo topics that I know in India is sex. People don't openly talk about sex, right? So I think finance is also very similar to sex. Like people also don't openly talk about their finances. आप अपना सैलरी अपना दोस्त तक को नहीं बताते हो, मे भी बताते होंगे, कुछ लोगों को पता होगा, पर उसको कैसा खर्चा करते हो, उसको कैसे सेव करते हो, most people don't discuss in like common circles. And that's kind of like taboo, and that's also the reason why, because people tend to judge others based on the income they have. And that potentially could be one of the reasons why people are not willing to share their salaries in an open space. And because of which perhaps they lose that opportunity. I won't say lose the opportunity, perhaps like don't have that opportunity to kind of like have that sort of like an open discussion on like how to plan, and make sure that you plan your finances properly for not just now but also for the future. And the other thing that I also want to trigger a discussion on is about the kind of like the savings that we do for our retirements. um, is Kiwi Saver good enough for um, us to save for the retirement, or is there something else that we should be doing to make sure that we have enough when we retire? And those are some pertinent questions. And the pertinent question also comes after my visit to Australia, because in Australia, an employer is supposed to contribute 11% monthly towards your superannuation fund, which is the equivalent of KiwiSaver, right? So, and you can also do a salary sacrifice, which also has a tax benefit, which means that you can potentially save more on a monthly basis and thus on an annual basis, which again then gets invested, which will give you some returns, reinvested returns. And by the time you retire, you have like a good chunk of money that you can pull out for your living during that time, or like you space that, space that income that's supposed to come back from the bank over a period of time, so that you can sustain your living. Whereas compared to New Zealand, where employee, that is you and I, have the opportunity to contribute either 3, 5, 7, or 10% based on like whatever we want, which is good. Like I would recommend everybody to contribute the maximum possible. Though I understand each of us have like different circumstances, different situations, but the more we can save today, the better it is for us tomorrow. So, I mean, the call is up to you, but the employer contribution is still 3%, which is not good enough for us to be able to like save for the retirement. And I was recently reading an article like where it was mentioning that the average Kiwi Saver accumulation someone has by the end of their retirement, the majority of the bracket of New Zealanders are um, saving approximately $30,000 for their retirement. $30,000 is not enough. Probably some of them would have taken some money for their first home and stuff, but at the time of retirement, if they're only getting $30,000, then that's not good enough. So maybe we'll spend some time in a show to talk about investments and what are the opportunities that we have. आज का थोड़ा सा शो बारी बरकम टाइप्स हो गया, तो I think all of these things are something that we should talk. As I say that I'm someone who consider all of you as friends, so I want to share my thoughts, feelings, what I'm going through with all of you. And these are the thoughts that are running in my mind this week. Um, as always, it was a great pleasure to meet you all through the show, and then share what I'm thinking. And I'm looking forward to next week. Until then, this is Trendy Thalaiva Selva signing off from all of you from India Live, where colors come live. We will meet again. This show is going to be every Wednesday, 6 p.m. at India Live, where colors come live. Until next week, all of you take care. Please make sure that you take good rest and drink a lot of water, and keep healthy. Bye, folks.